Luna had always been the quiet one, a dreamer who kept her thoughts hidden like gems in a closed casket. She grew up in Harmony Cove, where everyone knew everyone else's business and secrets were as uncommon as a clear winter day. Luna's mother, Lee, reared her alone when her father disappeared when she was a newborn. Lee was a force of nature, severe, haughty, and fiercely protective. She worked 2 jobs to support them, cleaning houses during the day and waitressing at a neighborhood diner at night. Luna adored her mother, even if their relationship was frequently strained by Lee's unreasonable expectations. Luna did, however, have one secret, which she guarded with every fiber of her existence. It wasn't simply a secret. It was a raw, unhealed wound that she'd been carrying since she was 16. She'd fallen in love with Finn, Harmony Cove's golden boy, with his easy grin and gentle gaze. He was the mayor's son, and everyone felt he was destined for great things. Their courtship had been gentle, with secret moments in the woods behind the lighthouse and whispering under the starlight. However, romance came to a sudden stop when Luna found out she was pregnant. She was scared, not just of what the future held for her, but also of what her mother would say. Lee had always emphasized discipline, sacrifice, and the value of rising above their surroundings. A baby at the age of 16 would break all of that. Luna could not bring herself to tell Finn. Rather, she made a decision that would haunt her for years. She left town without saying a word, residing with a distant relative in a neighboring city until the baby was delivered. She called her baby Lily after the wild flowers that flourished on the rocks. But Luna was young, overwhelmed, and alone. She placed Lily for adoption, believing it was the only way to offer her daughter a better life. When she returned to Harmony Cove, she didn't tell anyone. Not her mother, Finn, or her best friend, Poppy. The secret became a burden she carried in silence, a shadow that accompanied her through every stage of life. Years passed and Luna reconstructed herself. She obtained a job at the local library, where she could escape the haunting memories. She avoided Finn, who had remained in town, and became a deputy in the sheriff's department. He was now married to a woman named Steffi, whose piercing gaze and sharper tongue made Luna feel small every time they crossed paths. Life went on, but the secret stayed buried deep until one day it came to the surface. It began with a letter. Luna discovered it slipping under her apartment door one evening, scrawled in unsteady handwriting. It was from Lily's adoptive mother, who thanked Luna for giving her a daughter while also admitting that Lily, now 10, was inquisitive about her biological mother. The message contained a snapshot of a girl with Luna's dark eyes and Finn's crooked smile. Luna's heart broke again. She put the letter away, unsure what to do, but the past was no longer willing to remain concealed. Poppy found out first. Luna had confided in her one night, after too many glasses of wine, and the words came out like water from a cracked dam. Poppy agreed to keep it a secret, but Harmony Cove was a small community where secrets could easily seep through the gaps. Poppy informed her sister, who told her cousin, who brought it up at the cafe where Lee worked. By the time Finn heard it, the rumor had turned into a screaming truth. Finn confronted Luna in the library, his expression filled with fury and treachery. "Why haven't you told me?" he demanded, his voice low and shaking. The library was deserted, with rain pattering on the windows, heightening the impact of his comments. Luna tried to explain the dread, humiliation, and the feeling that she was protecting him, but Finn didn't listen. He felt robbed of a daughter he had no idea existed, as well as the opportunity to have a life. "You lied to me, Luna," he admitted, his eyes steely. "You lied to everyone." The confrontation did not end there. Finn, enraged, went to Lee, believing she knew all along. Lee was astonished, her face crumpling as she comprehended the extent of Luna's quiet. However, instead of compassion, Lee's attitude was one of rage. She felt deceived not only by Luna, but also by the years she had spent raising her, believing they shared everything. Lee's dignity and sense of control were shattered. She marched to the sheriff's office and insisted that Luna face the repercussions of her actions, not for abandoning the child, but for the falsehoods that had broken their family apart. Finn, the deputy, took action. He arrested Luna on fraud charges, alleging she fabricated documents to conceal the adoption from the town's records. It was a frivolous charge that would not stand up in court, but Finn's sorrow compelled him to act without thinking. The village was abuzz with the news that Luna, the quiet librarian, was in jail. The same individuals who had smiled at her at the grocery store were now whispering behind her back, their judgment as cold as the rain. The detention cell was small, with just one cot and a barred window that let in the damp chill. Luna sat there, her hands gripped firmly, trying to figure out how her life had crumbled so suddenly. She imagined Lily, somewhere out there, oblivious to the storm her presence had produced. She remembered her mother's rage, which felt like a bigger betrayal than Finn's. And she remembered Finn, the boy she used to adore but had unintentionally shattered his heart. Lee paid her a visit the next day, and her face was a mask of conflicting emotions. "How could you keep this from me?" she asked, her voice breaking. Luna attempted to explain, but the words seemed hollow. "I was scared, Mom. I didn't want to let you down." Lee shook her head, tears in her eyes. "You didn't simply disappoint me, Luna. You violated my trust." Days stretched into weeks, and Luna remained in jail while the legal proceedings dragged on. The local talk became louder, portraying Luna as a monster, a liar who had duped everyone. Poppy tried to visit, but Luna declined, reluctant to face the friend who had revealed her secret. Finn avoided the jail totally, his guilt clashing with his rage. Steffi, Finn's wife, was outspoken in her displeasure, labeling Luna a manipulator who had ruined his life. The weight of their decision pushed down on Luna, heavier than the bars of her jail. However, the real suffering came from within. Luna relived every moment of her choice to abandon Lily, pondering whether she had done the right thing. She wondered if Lily was happy, if she was loved, and if she could ever forgive her for abandoning her. The uncertainty gnawed at her like a constant agony, keeping her awake at night. She imagined writing letters to Lily, apologizing but never sending them, and making promises she couldn't follow. One evening, while the rain continued to fall, Lee returned to jail. She appeared older, her face wrinkled with weariness. She sat across from Luna, the bars between them representing the distance that had grown. "I've been thinking," Lee explained, her voice lower now. "I was angry at Luna, but now I see I also failed her. I made you feel like you couldn't approach me. That is on me." Luna's throat clenched. "Mom, I wanted to tell you. I just didn't know how." Lee reached through the bars, her hand quivering, and took Luna's. "We'll get through this," she stated. "Together." The charges against Luna were subsequently withdrawn, since the case was too weak to proceed. She stepped out of the jail into a world that felt different and colder. The town's rumors followed her, but she kept her head up, determined to rebuild. However, Finn remained distant, unwilling to truly forgive her. Lee became her anchor, and their friendship gradually strengthened as they confronted the reality together. Luna never contacted Lily, but she saved the photo from the letter and tucked it into a book of poetry she adored. She hoped that Lily would find her when the moment was perfect. Until then, Luna carried her melancholy as a quiet companion, a reminder of her decisions and the love she had lost. The rain continued to fall over Harmony Cove, but Luna strolled through it slowly, looking for a way to forgive herself. The bold and the beautiful spoilers for Monday, August 18th, state that Luna Nozawa will mislead Lee Finnegan into a getaway plan, dooming Will Spencer as the party begins at Il Giardino. Although Luna is grateful to Lee for saving her life, she also believes Lee should lighten up. Luna is still not the type of person who takes things too seriously, so nearly dying was not a true wake-up call. It's hardly surprising that Luna will use additional subterfuge in Monday's BNB episode. Luna may make up an excuse to get rid of Lee, such as requesting a certain food or something else that Lee may leave to pick up. Perhaps Luna could make her move while Lee takes a nap. Whatever the circumstance, Luna will find an opportunity to sneak away and take full advantage of it. After Luna flees, Lee will panic when she realizes she has disappeared. Sheila Sharp will eventually get Lee's frightening phone call, and she will get updates on Luna's escape. Sheila is a sharp woman, so she'll undoubtedly notice that Luna was quite interested in the party at Il Giardino. Sheila would most likely believe that Luna wants to be at the restaurant because she knows Wood will be there. Sheila may realize that if she does not stop Luna before it is too late, her granddaughter will go off the rails and end up in prison again. Luna has demonstrated that her mind can go to some unpleasant depths, so Sheila will have legitimate concerns. Although Sheila will embark on an urgent Luna quest, there is no stopping her now. Luna will be on a quest to sizzle with Will, Therefore she will not let Sheila, Electra Forrester, or anyone else get in her way. Luna will have to disguise herself in order to attend the party, as Sheila and Lee are the only individuals who know she survived. Luna will pick up a mask after her exploration and develop that classic mischievous sparkle in her eye. The bold and the beautiful spoilers indicate that the mask may play a role in an identity crisis shortly, so stay tuned for the unpleasant news. Luna was a whirlwind, surprising and captivating. She'd call him at midnight to see the moon, or show up at his flat with a bottle of cheap wine and a plan to chase the night. Will was captivated by her disarray, drawn to it like a moth to a fire. She spoke about freedom and living without restraints, and he believed her. He believed in her. For the first time he felt seen, as if someone understood his inner turmoil. But Luna kept secrets, which she guarded with a smile that never reached her eyes. Will didn't notice at first since he was so caught up in her presence. He didn't question the late-night texts she ignored, or how she'd disappear for days only to reappearance with stories too outlandish to believe. He believed that was part of her allure, her untamed personality. He didn't notice the fissures appearing beneath the surface of their frail world. Lee was the one who could see through her. Will's oldest friend, Lee, serves as a stable anchor for his drifting ship. They'd grown up together, scraping knees and whispering dreams in the little village they both vowed to leave. Lee was realistic and grounded, with a quick wit and a sharper tongue. When Will presented Luna to him, Lee's smile was tight and his eyes were cautious. "She's trouble," he told Will later that night, his voice low over a beer. "She is playing you, Guy. I can feel it." Will laughed it off. Lee has always been protective. He saw danger whereas Will saw adventure. But the seed of mistrust was planted, subtle and poisonous, and it grew with each unanswered call and unclear explanation Luna provided. Still Will clung to her, to the notion of her, because letting go meant admitting he was mistaken about love, about himself. The reality came tumbling down at Luna's bash. A big party hosted by one of her pals in a downtown loft. The area was a whirlwind of lights and music, bodies squeezed together, laughing piercing and brittle. Will had never felt more out of place, with his thrift store jacket standing out against the sparkling crowd. Luna was in her element, darting from group to group, her laughter resonating like a bell. Will watched her with a familiar ache in his chest, wondering why she hadn't glanced at him all night. Lee was also present, standing at the bar, his black eyes tracking Luna's every move. He'd come at Will's request, despite the fact that he'd expressed a desire to be somewhere else. "You need to see this for yourself," Lee had stated cryptically when Will asked him to participate. As the night progressed, Will felt the weight of those comments. He noticed Luna and an unknown man snuggled into a corner of the loft around midnight. The man's hand rested on her waist, her head inclined toward him, and her smile was intimate and knowing. Will's gut churned, and the room tilted around him. He wanted to turn away, to pretend he hadn't seen, but his feet drew him in, compelled by a want-to-know to pain. "Will," Luna remarked when she saw him, her voice smooth and unperturbed. The man stepped back, his countenance unreadable. "This is Jace." "He is an old friend." Jace nodded, his gaze moving over Will as if he were an inconvenience. Will mumbled something, his voice buried in the background music. Luna's hand stroked his arm briefly, making him feel mocked. "Don't make a scene," she said softly, her breath warm against his ear. "It's not what you think." But it was. Will recognized it in the way her eyes went away and Jace's smirk remained. He turned, the room blurring, and staggered to the exit. Lee stood there, waiting, his face a mask of pity and wrath. "Told you," he murmured, his voice filled with grief rather than triumph. Will's thoughts felt hazy, but the air outside was sharp. He slumped against a brick wall, his breath raspy and tears blazing in his eyes. Lee remained beside him silently, allowing him to break. "How do you know?" Will eventually asked, his voice husky. "She's been playing you from the start," Lee replied quietly. "I saw her with him some weeks ago. Same mood, same lies. I did not intend to hurt you, but you needed to see." Will's chest clenched, and the weight of betrayal crushed him. Luna hadn't just lied. She'd created a web, and he'd been too blind to notice the links. He recalled the nights he'd spent penning poems for her, the fantasies he'd shared, and the future he had envisioned. All of it was built on sand. The days that followed were a haze of anguish and stillness. Luna did not call, text, or explain. Will noticed her once across the street, laughing with someone new, her gaze never catching his. He removed her phone number, destroyed the poems, and attempted to erase her from his heart. But the anguish persisted, a bruise that throbbed with each remembrance. Lee remained close, bringing coffee, pulling Will to the movies, and filling the silence with his constant presence. But even Lee couldn't fill the void Luna had left. Will stopped writing and dreaming. The environment felt dimmer, and the colors were muted. He went through the motions, work, home, and sleep, but the spark was vanished. Months later, under the same gray sky in the same park, Will sat on a bench with his notepad still in his bag. The leaves were falling again, unaffected by his anguish. He thought of Luna with a gentle sadness rather than rage. She hadn't intended to destroy him, he realized. She was merely a storm, gorgeous and devastating, passing through with little regard for what she left behind. Lee sat beside him and threw pebbles into a nearby pond. "You're still here," Lee stated, breaking the silence. "That's something." Will nodded, a slight smile pulling on his lips. It wasn't much, but it was sufficient. The earth would keep turning, the leaves would fall, and maybe one day he'd rediscover his spark. Until then, he had this park, his companion, and the slow, agonizing process of mending.